Hi there. Welcome to this week's ESOL lesson for asylum seekers. This week I'm going to be talking about sewing. Everything to do with the verb to sew. And we're going to be looking at the contents, what's in my sewing box. Sometimes I call it my needlework box. It's the same thing. I'm going to show it to you now. Here it is. This is my sewing box, or I can call it my needlework box. And inside I've got lots of things that I use for sewing. I'm going to open it now if I can. I'm only going to open one side to make it easier. There. And inside it's got lots of compartments. You can see there's a compartment there, a compartment there, and a compartment there. And it's the same on this side. So if you remember, if you watched last week's video about the toolbox, this is something like that, but instead of tools inside, it's got lots of things to do with sewing. The verb is to sew, and that is a sewing box or a needlework box, and it has lots of compartments to keep things in. Now I'm going to show you some of the things from my sewing box. First of all, here I've got some cotton. This happens to be green cotton, but I've got lots of different colours. Here's some red cotton, and here is some white cotton. The other word for cotton that we can use like this is thread. Thread. There. So we call this cotton or thread. Cotton or thread. And the thing we keep the cotton on here, that it comes in from the shop, might look like that, or it might look like that, is a cotton reel. A cotton reel. A cotton reel. Reel. Now they can be made of different things. This one is made of plastic, so it's a plastic cotton reel. And this one is a plastic one as well. But I've got some really old ones. And this is a really old cotton reel. And I think you can see that that is made from wood. So that's a wooden cotton reel. And this one too. This one is also a wooden cotton reel. So that's cotton and thread on a cotton reel. Now, we use cotton for sewing, and we use it, cotton, with one of these. It's a needle, a sewing needle. So it's got a sharp point that we push through things. And at this end, can you see there's the hole that the thread goes through. The thread goes through there. So this is the needle, and we call this hole the eye eye of the needle. It's the same word as this because it's the same shape. So that's a needle and the eye of the needle. That hole is the eye of the needle. Now, if I'm very clever, I will show you how I can put some cotton into the eye of the needle. There we are, done it. I've put some cotton through the eye of the needle. Can you see? So there is the needle and there is the cotton. And we call that, the action of doing that, to thread a needle. So the verb is to thread a needle. To thread a needle.
A sewing needle used for hand sewing is a long slender tool with a pointed tip and a hole at the other.
I think I must have my voice on my tablet. Now, I'm going to show you some other things. Here, this isn't a needle. This is something else. Can you see that? Not very well. Let me show you a bigger one. There. There. This is an unusual one. That hasn't got a hole in it. It hasn't got an eye, so it's not a needle, but it has got a sharp point. This is a pin. A pin. I've got lots of pins. I'll show them to you. There we are. Can you see them sticking up? Lots and lots of pins. And these pins are on a pin cushion. A pin cushion. This is something I made. Very proud of that. There we are. It's a pin cushion. And when I'm sewing, I put my pins on there. And it's the same shape as the sort of cushion that we have on a chair, but it's much smaller. Sometimes people wear them on their wrist like that when they're sewing, and they have a band round them. So that is a pin, and that is a pin cushion. Here's the words. Pin, or pins if we have more than one, and pin cushion. Pin cushion. And just in case you don't know what we use pins for, I'll show you. There might be some of you who've never used one. If I've got some material like this is white. Just to make it clear for you, here's some different coloured material. And I want to sew those two pieces of material together with a needle and thread. Before I do that, I will want to pin them together. So I am pinning them together, and in fact the verb is to pin. So I'm going to pin the material together. So there we are. I've put the pins in, can you see? And that material is joined. But I would then have to sew it with a needle and thread. You couldn't leave it like that. You can't leave it like that because you would hurt yourself on the pins. I'm just going to turn the light down a little bit because I don't think you can see me very well. That's better. Okay, what else have I got in my needlework box, in my sewing box? Well, I've got these nice little sharp scissors, and they're very good for sewing. They're very good for cutting thread. But sometimes I need bigger scissors like this if I'm cutting some material. So if I wanted to cut this material, I would use big scissors. So these are big scissors and these are little scissors, but I keep them both in my sewing box. Here's the word. It's a funny word. scissors. We don't sound that C. It's got a silent C. It's S-C, scissors, but we don't say skizzers. We say scissors. Something else. You'll all have seen one of these. Here we are. It's a tape measure. A tape measure. Here's the word. Tape measure. And I can measure what I want to sew. We could use this for other things. We can see how tall we are, how fat we are. And it has two types of measurement on it. Can you see? It says inches there. So 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch. And it also says CMS for centimetres. So you can measure with this tape measure in inches or centimetres. And we would say that centimetres is metric measurement and inches are imperial measurement. And the word for this, or two words actually, but it's one name, is tape measure. It's made of tape and it measures. So it's a tape measure. To the end of things I'm going to show you. I wonder who knows what that is. Can you see on the end of my finger I've got something? You see that? And it looks like, if I took it off, there we are, I've got two now, like that. It's like a little hat. And that is something I might wear on my finger if I'm sewing, because it will help to push the needle through the material. It'll stop me hurting my finger, so I can, let's do it with here, I can sew, put my needle through there, and then I can push it with the thimble and pull it. So that is a thimble. A thimble. T-H-I-M-B-L-E. Not many people wear these now. But that one, I think, no, that one is actually made of solid silver. Many years ago, people had these made of precious metals because they handed them down to generations. So a mother or a father would hand it on to their daughter or son, and the son or daughter would hand it down to their son or daughter. Finally, this is a bit funny. Something else I keep in my sewing box is this. Looks like tape. But look at my hands now. Whee! You see, it's quite small. And if I pull, it's bigger. There. And I've got some different sorts somewhere. But I don't know what I've done with it. Oh, here we are. This one. It's stretchy. It's stretchy. So if I want to sew something to make it stretchy, I would put this in it. There's some other sorts. There's a little bit. Can you see how stretchy it is? And we call that elastic. Elastic. You could sew it into something to make it stretchy. So that's all the things I'm going to show you from my sewing box today. But now I'm going to get you to do some work. And I want you to answer these questions. So you'll need a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen. And I want you then to send your answers to me via email. And I want you to do it before next Tuesday. Now next Tuesday is, I'll have to work this out whilst I'm talking to you. Next Tuesday is the, so today's 23rd of February. Tuesday the 23rd of February is our Zoom lesson. And if you'd like to join in with that Zoom lesson, we'll go over the answers to these questions, and I'll talk a little bit more about sewing and what's kept in a sewing box. And if there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me. I'll give you my email address at the end. So here are the questions. You should be able to answer them from what you've done earlier in the video. Number 1. What do we call the box where we keep sewing items? There are 2 different words. What are the 2 words? It's a something box or a something box. What are those words? 2 things. Number 2. If we buy some cotton, we buy it on a what? What's that called? Number 3. What is the other word for cotton? What is the other word for cotton that we sew with? Number 4. What is the name of the hole in a needle through which we put the cotton, through which we thread the cotton? Number 5. If we are sewing, where do we keep pins? If we are sewing, where do we keep pins? Number 6. What would we use to find out how long something is? Number 7. What are the 2 systems of measurement called? Number 8. What can we put on a finger to push a needle through cloth? What's the name of that? Number 9. What do we use to cut thread? And the last question, number 10. If we want to make something stretchy, what can we use? So, I want you to put those answers on a piece of paper now, and then I want you to send me your answers by email, and you send it to this address, asylumesol@rmcentre.org.uk. And don't forget, if you want to join next Tuesday's Zoom lesson and you haven't done so before, let me know on this address. I hope to see you there, and I hope you're able to answer those questions. So that's all for now. Happy sewing. Bye.